everybody, and welcome back. You are listening to Joygasm, a video game and movie podcast. I'm Russ, Xbox Live Toaster 360. He is Steve, Xbox Live Stevavitch. And it is a pleasure to have you join us once again in episode 236 today, August 12th. 2021. We're going to be catching up with each other as we have not done so in a while before going right into our topic of the day, which is the What If Disney Plus show impressions, which you can fast forward to if you look at the timestamps located in the detailed section below. Steve.
How you doing, Russ?
I am splendid. How are you?
Just fantabulous.
Oh, good.
I should say. You know, I can't remember everything that I've actually watched and played. I can just tell you about a few highlights, Russ. Actually, one. One in particular.
Well, before you do, be sure to snuggle that subscribe button, maybe even tickle that notification bell. That way you will not miss a single episode of Joygasm. Continue, Steve, sorry.
Well, normally I would have forgotten by now, but this is too
Mind
hard
like
to
a
forget.
steel trap, this guy over here.
Boy. Anyhow, what I saw, Russ, was A Quiet Place 2.
Oh.
Did you ever see A Quiet Place 1?
I did.
Did you like it?
It actually was extremely intense. I was very impressed by how much of the edge of my seat my entire person's was taking up, Steve.
Right. Well, I'm happy to tell you that the second one is even better.
Even better.
I wouldn't say it's just as intense.
Yeah.
Probably a little bit more tense. But
Is the story just as original and cool and all that?
yes. So, it's not like the creatures are gone. Oh. It's still, it's a sequel. So, they're still kind of there, but, the family knows how to deal with them.
Without going into spoilers,
Have
they mutated or perhaps evolved beyond the incredible hearing skills?
Wouldn't that be a spoiler?
Well, now that you mention it, probably so.
Anyhow, glad I stopped that one. Oh, brakes!
Yeah. Quick, get the e-brake on that one. But, I will say that was a resounding maybe. That's where I'm going that's where I'm going to leave it. Right there, Steve.
Yeah, okay. You believe what you want to, Russ. Either way, you'll have to see it.
Yes.
So, you're a big fan of the cinematography.
I am a big fan of cinematography, framing, lighting. Yes, all very much fundamentals of good cinema.
And this movie is no slouch to those random terms that I could probably not define. But it seems like he, same writer, same dude. Anyway, can't remember his name. Sorry.
It was so good, I forgot.
It's me, not you. So it seems like he films it in a smaller cropped frame, not wide screen, not IMAX, but a shorter film, smaller film.
Oh, so you're talking about instead of it being IMAX film or 35 millimeter, it looks more 8 millimeter or
possibly yes,
18 millimeter,
possibly yes. That I'm guessing, but that's what it seems to me like it is. If I was to put my finger on something, that might be it. I like to get your input, Russ, but the cinematography is actually very good. There's a lot of very well filmed shots, very. Just really nicely framed shots with the colors and the perspective and everything. It's fantastic. It really is. And I like where this story goes. You know who's in it?
I know a couple people like Emily Blunt and.
Sure, yeah.
Well, I'm guessing you're. I haven't seen it.
Right. So yeah, that'd probably be a big, wild stab. And I'd love to tell you who's in it, but I can't remember his name. But
well, I wouldn't want to know anyway. Just because
I know
I'll probably see it.
What he's played in. He is the dude who played Scarecrow.
I told you not to tell me.
He's in the movie poster.
I really haven't seen the movie poster.
Anyway,
I'm glad he's in it.
Probably his best performance, Russ.
Really?
And I know that's saying something.
Really?
He's very, very good.
Very good. Very good. So if you had to choose between the two films, which one did you like better?
The second one.
The second one?
Yes.
He said that without any hesitation. Did you see that, folks?
No, see, the first one, it was good. I'm like, man, that was awesome. And I thought it was just like, that was it. That was just the first movie. That's all we're going to get.
Yeah.
And so then when we saw the previews for the second one, I thought that, okay, well, cool. I guess they're making a second one. Cool. I'm down. By the end of this movie, I'm like, give me a third one. I'm ready. I want to watch it tomorrow. Like, it's that good.
Well, and I think it's commercially doing well. Like, I don't think I've heard anything negative about it whatsoever. So your wish may just get granted, Steve.
I'm telling you, it's intense, but it's not gory.
Yeah.
Just like the first one. Sort of. But yeah, no, this one, watch it. Okay. Definitely watch it.
Okay.
I highly recommend it.
Well, I'm glad you saw it. I'm glad you highly recommend it because that just adds fuel to my desire to see it fire.
It was funny. I think this only got I didn't get released only in theaters because I saw it. Like, it only came out like a couple months ago.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know how I missed it. I was wanting to watch that like opening day, and it just kind of came and went, and then wife and I were skipping through HBO Max and seeing what was there. We're like, A Quiet Place 2, like that's on HBO Max. What, are you kidding me?
Well, and I think
let's watch it.
I think when it came out, though, I don't recall what all was happening, but it strikes me as if that period had quite a bit of activity going on, whether it was like for like this show or other things that were getting released and whatnot. Like, I knew it had released, but I mean, even for myself, being a fan, like I still haven't gotten around to seeing it yet. I still want to see it very much, but yeah, it's interesting how that all plays out.
Yeah.
So
I would say that would be the highlight. We've been watching a bunch of other movies. We've been, we watched, I can't remember. I think it's Get Hard with Will Ferrell and Kevin Hart. I remember their names. And that was actually pretty funny. Pretty crass. Russ, don't watch that with the first grader.
Okay.
But it was pretty funny. That was good. And then we watched some older Eddie Murphy movies.
Oh, that's good.
And I miss Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy's a genius.
Why has he not? Maybe he has, and I just haven't noticed. But where has he been?
I believe he is enjoying the fruits of his hard labor over these many decades.
I guess. Man, he's got some energy, though. He has a ton of energy.
Oh, yeah.
My goodness. Like, if he's doing impressions or what, or he's just acting like himself, like he's just beaming with, I don't know. I could never keep up with Eddie Murphy.
He's a method actor for sure. Like, if I think about the various roles he has been in, his comedy has a wide spectrum of capability.
Right.
So, and it's really interesting too to say that, because if you watch him in some sort of interview, he's very like soft spoken and chill and very
not loud.
180 from
right.
the characters that he portrays in the various films.
Along with his stand-up, his stand-up is still pretty loud, but it's not nearly how he is in his movies.
Mm-hmm.
But anyhow, we'll flip it back over to you, Russ.
Thank you.
What have you been up to?
Thank you very much.
And 5 words or less. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm going to fail miserably at that.
That's 3.
Got 2 left. I have actually a number of films that I have been looking forward to telling you about.
Really?
Really, really. The first one is the movie Old.
Oh my gosh, you saw that movie? I really want to know actually how that is, because after watching that preview when we were looking at it, I was like, this is going to toss up. So yes, do tell, I'm all ears.
So it's definitely
Old.
it's definitely old.
Yeah.
Old, yes. No, I was going to say there is strong inspiration that is clearly drawn from an Alfred Hitchcock movie, which is no surprise because M. Night is known for.
Right.
I think he was
He's a
even
big fan.
interviewed several times where he talks about, I think Alfred Hitchcock is my hero and so on and so forth. So this is no different. He definitely had the whole scene pretty much take place on the beach. I'm not going to go into spoilers because it is still in theaters, so I don't want to ruin it for anybody. And I will say, so both my wife and I thought that some of the premise was good. However, the script writing, the dialogue, I think is the weak link when it comes to like just the entire presentation. And so, and I don't want to go into it because I don't want to spoil anything, but I think that at the end of the day, like there are certain parts that we were both talking about that were like, wow, that one part was actually really well done. Like we started getting into the movie, but then the very next scene, there would be issues again with either the acting or the dialogue itself. And I think that's one of the things that's worth mentioning too, is that I think we only recognized perhaps one actor out of the entire cast. Like everybody else we had never seen before. And I think that's a bit of a wild card as well, because obviously when you have people who have done a number of films on their belt, they're a lot more dependable in terms of knowing what kind of performance you're going to get out of them. So it wasn't a bad movie. I wouldn't say it was necessarily a good movie either, but it was okay. It was one of those films where it's like, yeah, we didn't regret going to see it. And honestly, it was nice to be able to go to the theater and just watch something. So there's that one, Steve. The other one is The Green Knight.
Oh, you saw that one.
I did.
Did you see that here or in the theater?
I saw it at the theater, actually.
Theater.
Yes, indeed. I was very much wanting to return because it is so nice to be able to be back in the theater. It is the weirdest thing. Like life has not returned to normal, obviously, yet. But the very notion that the theater is once again open, Steve. And not many people are going to the theater.
That's nice.
It is nice. Like when I was going to both of these movies, the seating was not full. It wasn't even close to full. I would say maybe it was half full, but quite honestly, it was probably more like 40% full, somewhere in that range. So for a film that just came out, and the same thing was with the Suicide Squad, because we went to the theater to see that as well, that we went to the largest screen room that they had, the XD theater, and even that was like maybe half full. So it's pretty interesting how that works, but it works out fine because that means I'm not sardined in with all the other fans who want to see the movies and stuff. When it comes to The Green Knight, Steve.
Yes.
The Green Knight also had a lot of potential, and unfortunately the execution, in my opinion, fell a little flat because apparently the film is based off of a poem that was created long ago. And so they decided to personify the poem by doing this film. And there were certain things like the cinematography, like for instance, you mentioned how much of a fan I am of cinematography. The cinematography in The Green Knight is downright gorgeous. It was amazing. Did you ever see The Revenant?
Yes. That's with
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Okay. So do you recall how a lot of the shots in that film, it was a wide angle pretty much. Like if you think about like the various shots that you see of the wilderness and that sort of thing, you could really like drink in the wildlife and the forests and that sort of thing simply because they use more wide angle lenses, which was great because it just made you that much more immersed in that environment. The Green Knight does the same exact thing. They have this approach where you see this knight and he's trudging along on his adventurous journey and that sort of thing. And the sweeping vistas, I mean, both my wife and I were like, wow, this is really, it reminded us almost like one of those ancient paintings that you would see at an art gallery or museum that, the artist has taken a lot of time to create almost like a pattern of, or make a pattern out of trees or of rock croppings or whatever. So it's like, you're just looking at it and it's so busy, but it's not like overly busy, like in a bad way. However, it was a slow burn of a film, and unfortunately, that slow burn, in my opinion, snuffed itself out.
Did the Green Knight say any poetry?
No.
No.
No poetry. No.
Well, that's disappointing. I might have bumped it up a half a point.
There were moments where, like, obviously the night, and again, I don't want to go into spoiler territory, but essentially the story takes place where, if you can think of who a knight is, what kind of social status a knight it gets to enjoy, this knight had to go on a quest basically as a means to realize he had a lot of growing up to do. I'll just say that. And so there are certain instances where it was cool to see these types of life lessons and that sort of thing. But then there were other ones where I'm just like, yeah, but I'm not feeling that one so much. So anyway, I, for one, am glad that I went to go see both those films without you.
Okay. At least he's honest.
Well, just because if I felt that way, I know for a fact, like, you would just be like,
why am I here?
Yeah, you would be looking at me with daggers, be like, I hate you. Why did you subject me to this?
And make me buy you popcorn.
You would be like, you'd have your tub of popcorn right there, and I'd be like watching the film, and I gotta just get this feeling like someone's glaring at me, and I'd look over and you'd just be like, looking at me like just with utter contempt.
I'm out of milk duds. I'm gonna get angry in a minute.
You owe me more milk duds. Yeah.
Oh man.
Another thing I watched, Steve.
Oh, there's more.
Oh yeah. There's a lot more. I watched the Val documentary.
Yes, right.
Have you seen?
No, I have not. I've heard of it. I've seen it advertised. It's the Val Kilmer documentary. It shows a lot of his footage. That dude's like loving filming since he was a wee lad.
Yes.
And so it's like him documenting his life as he was a young guy. And then probably a lot of backstage like footage of him behind like the movies that he was making, right? Or he starred in.
That's pretty much the general gist of the documentary itself. I thought it was really well done. First of all, I highly recommend, if you guys out there, if you like documentaries, I highly recommend watching the Val documentary. It isn't patronizing, and it's not filled with like, oh, look how cool I am. Look at my life. I'm so awesome. And it's also not the other way of like, oh, I had such a tortured life. You know, it was just very realistic and presented the material as is. And apparently Val Kilmer was and is this very prolific video recorder. I mean, he took that thing almost everywhere he went. It didn't matter if he was on a shoot or if he was at a family function or if he was by himself or whatever. He just always brought a video camera, which I honestly think that's super cool, because especially now that he's older, he literally, I will say this, in the documentary, he takes the viewer to this like warehouse storage room that he has. He literally has like shelves and shelves of VHS tapes and film and everything else. I mean, it is a lot. He has boxes upon boxes that he's pulling, and it's all categorized and archived. I'm like, the guy was serious about this.
Seems like it.
But I think too, furthermore, what's neat about it is, so you get to peer a bit into his personal life when he was a kid growing up, like you were saying, and then you get to witness like how he was struggling as an actor to become an actor. And then you see him with his big break, which was essentially like Top Gun. Top Gun is what really put him on the map. And then after that, all of a sudden he started getting all these other jobs. And then it starts talking about more of the 2000s and leading up to present day, where he has a battle with throat cancer. And so are you familiar with that whole situation about how like he basically lost his voice? Like
it's good. Yeah.
He has to like plug up he has a tube coming out of his throat and all that. So, to give you an idea, there was a moment, I'm not going to say what happens, but there is something in the documentary where they reveal something and I actually got teary-eyed. And that's how much I found. I was actually surprised. I'm like, I don't know this guy. I don't know anything about, I have no close relationships with anybody who was in this documentary, but it was so well put together, edited, and produced that by that point, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm literally, I can feel my eyes welling up. That's crazy. So you can see it on, I believe it was Amazon Prime is what I watched.
I think it's on Amazon Prime, yeah. Without seeing it, I mean, that it's a testament to of not quitting, I would say.
Yes.
Because I've seen the preview and that's been it. That's all I've seen of it. But it's on my watch list. But I mean, I don't have cancer. And I could probably say if I did have cancer, I would be asking for a breakfast in bed, right? And then like little like pictures to color, right? So
sure.
Val Kilmer's making a movie and he can't even speak, right? Speaking it for him is quite the task.
Yeah.
And so, but it just shows that, you know, if life knocks you down, that doesn't mean you quit. That means you still do something with what you have left.
Right. Yeah. And what I think is crazy too is how when you see him in present day, he's filled with energy.
Sure.
Like he's just as mischievous and filled with fun and wanting to play jokes on people and that sort of thing. But it's such a contrast to how his voice sounds like when he tries to speak and that sort of thing. It makes him seem a lot older than he actually is, and he really is filled to this day with just a lot of vigor and life and everything else. And he has his family, like he has his kids and stuff, and he's really helping to push them through their college education and that sort of thing. And he's taken on art. Like you learn certain things, for instance, like he has a big love for New Mexico. So he bought a property way back in New Mexico, and he wears some of the stones that are unique to that state. Kind of, I can't remember. I'm so bad at knowing the names of rocks and whatnot, but like those, it was like those blue marble stones.
You're such a terrible geologist. How dare you?
I will have you know, I got a whopping C+ in geology.
C++, almost a B-.
Anyway, highly recommend you check that out, as well as anyone else out there who enjoys a good documentary or is a fan of Val Kilmer, because it was just, man, I was very much inspired by that, which then led me to watch Heat.
Yeah.
You've seen Heat, right?
Yeah. It's one of the best gunplay films out there. Yeah, for sure.
Oh my goodness.
Awesome.
I think that film came out, I want to say right around 1994, if I'm not mistaken. 1994, 1995, somewhere around there. I'll have to double check my dates on that.
There was, yeah.
Oh, do you think 96?
Wager.
Could be 96. But anyway, oh man, I haven't seen that film in years.
De Niro's in that film too.
Oh, yeah. You have Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Val Kilmer, Tom Sizemore. You even have Tone Loc in there for a little bit. I mean, you
was
have.
he the cop?
No, he had a small part. He was the brother of this other guy who was running some shady businesses and stuff on the side, and he had information on the one bad dude who like basically double crossed the group,
right?
And I guess they were like prison inmates, I think is what it was. And so it was really, really neat to see. And yeah. Oh, well, and I think Ashley Judd, if I'm not mistaken, was in it as well.
Okay.
So
it's funny, that whole movie, I mean, you know, there's a lot of big name actors in it, but when I think of the movie Heat, I think of Val Kilmer and that scene in the middle where it's that gunfight in the middle of the city. That's like the go-to scene of that movie.
Oh, yeah.
And that's all I remember is Val Kilmer and Heat.
Yeah. Oh, Val
Sounds kind of weird when you put it like that. Val Kilmer in Heat, man. Oh, boy.
Watching Val just puts me in heat. Wait, what?
Like, really? Yeah, it's kind of hot in here.
First I'm crying and now I'm sweating. Anyway, really, really cool. At some point, I think we're going to have to do like a proper Joygasm episode that dedicates it to Heat. Because Heat is literally one of my, I would say, it's in the top 10 of all time best movies I've ever seen, period. So good. Oh, that ending is so good, too.
I was just about to say, it happened at the...
Yeah. Remember that part when... Yeah. One last thing, Steve.
Oh, my goodness.
Uno Mas. I have some good news. I have some good news, Steve.
I thought this was all good news, but apparently
that's a good point, Steve. It's all good
Where's
news.
the bad news?
This was bad news, and then it turned into good news, Steve.
Okay.
I got Microsoft Flight Simulator to work.
Oh, I was going to mention that. I got a beef with Microsoft. I've been waiting for that game to come out ever since I saw it on E3 like, 2-3 years ago?
Yeah,
like,
you've been really much.
wait.
You were the one who was initially like all on fire to play it.
And then we're like, oh, what are we going to talk about? Oh, Microsoft Flight Simulator. Like, yes. Yes. And then I go, it's not available on Game Pass, but I can find it on my Xbox. And I'm trying to download the thing. And I'm like, what is going on? I'm not happy right now. And then I had to Google, oh, yeah. It's like the next gen title for Microsoft only. Like, okay, yeah, the other family of Xbox games where it's kind of available for, but yeah, no, not this one.
Yeah.
It's just for the next generation. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
You just need, man, you got to upgrade. You've got to find some way to get an Xbox Series X so you can enjoy that title. I will say that as we're talking about this particular game, I'm probably going to put up some sort of overlay on here so that everyone can take a look at this, because I have a feeling I was not the only person who had this issue. But having said that, the game itself is huge. I want to say it's probably like 140 to 147 gigs. I mean, it's a big baby. It's a big
boy.
Yeah. You look at it and you're like, oh, okay.
I guess I'll download it and then go to bed.
Yeah, that's pretty much what you have to do. Now, so I ran into some issues where I downloaded the game and I assigned it to my external hard drive. Because I have I think it's like an 8 terabyte external hard drive, and my internal I think is like already at like 70 some odd percent full.
For sure.
So it didn't have enough space. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just put it on there. No big deal, whatever. Well, I'm unable to play the game when it's fully ready to go. And I'm thinking, what on earth? And so I'm literally like clicking on the button. You know how like you look at the Xbox dashboard and it has like those little cards, those little game cards. You go, I want to play that one. So you click on it, it goes boom, and then like usually you see the splash screen comes up as it loads. No splash screen, no loading screen, nothing like that. It's literally just boom, and it just stays there. I'm thinking, that's not good. What the heck is going on with that? So I got in touch with Xbox support through Twitter, which, by the way, Twitter is a good resource I have found.
To complain.
Yes. But I didn't realize that actually Microsoft has set up a very proactive group on Twitter. So if you have any kind of Xbox issues or game-related issues, that sort of thing, you can contact. You just look up Xbox support on Twitter, and they will get back to you and reach out to you and that sort of thing. So that's what I ended up doing was I explained the situation, and let me tell you, it was a process of elimination. So like they were giving me a couple of different types of instructions as to how we could try and get this resolved. They weren't working. And so then they gave me this big old long step-by-step list. And on this list, I mean, it was like go through like delete all local like saved games and sign yourself out and reset the console multiple times in these different capacities under settings, and like going through this whole thing where like I literally had to basically erase my profile on Xbox and then reassign it. And when I was done with all these different steps, and again, I'm paraphrasing, which is why I'm saying I'll have an overlay that is on the screen like as I'm talking about this. But when it comes to the final step, so I did everything that they asked me to do, and they were really good about saying, okay, reply to us, let us know if this works or not. And they did that every single time when we had this kind of back and forth. I realized that when that was all said and done, I tried to execute the game, tried to launch it. And a message appeared on the screen that said, this game cannot be played while installed on an external hard drive. It must be on a Xbox internal hard drive in order for the game to launch. Oh, that would be very handy to know up front. And honestly, I don't even know if they knew that at Xbox support. I have no idea like what the deal is, but I have a feeling that game has had, I think, a bit of some issues, not major issues, but just some issues coming out where it has not been a seamless transition of like, oh, we're going gold and here it is, enjoy the game, that sort of thing.
Well, I guess it's good I'll wait. So as to not be frustrated.
I think that's probably a good idea.
You know where you are in the game. You are waiting to get through security. You haven't even boarded the plane yet, even to fly it, Russ. That's where you are.
I've just made it through the security checkpoint.
You've got your pat down.
Carrying
anything into your plane that you're gonna pilot?
I've had my anal probe. They've rifled through all my personal private belongings.
I need to check this.
They've given me unnecessary stink eyes. I don't even know why. I'm a nice guy. I don't know what's happening, but I survived. Now I'm getting into my flight chair, my first class seat.
Oh man!
So I played it a little bit today, and I flew over 2 locations. The first one is I flew over San Francisco.
I knew it.
Which was so much fun, I gotta say. San Francisco was super cool. I flew over the Bay Bridge, the Dumbarton Bridge, and the Golden Gate Bridge. And it is very, very cool. Like, one of the things that I thought was also really nice was they have this music that starts out like as you're flying, and it kind of reminds me of that one ride at California Adventure. I don't even know if they even still have it because it's been for freaking ever since I've been to California Adventure. But they have a ride called Soarin' Over California. Have you been on that ride?
Russ.
Yeah, Steve.
I haven't even explored that area. The last time I was at like Disneyland was probably
1995.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it probably was. I think the last time you were at Disneyland was 1995. That was when we got kicked off the carousel.
Yeah, we got kicked off the carousel. That was the last time. I think in my heart of hearts, I believe I'm banned.
Yes, that was a fun memory to have.
That was a great time.
It was a fantastic time.
It was a highlight.
It was a wonderful romp through.
I haven't been since, and so everyone starts talking about California Adventure. I'm like, sounds great, very cool.
I mean, that must mean that you have not been to a Disney park in what, 26 years?
Well, Russ, I'm not very good at math, but if I was to do fast math, have to agree, about 26 years. Yeah, sure.
I think it's either 25 or 26, like somewhere in that vicinity. Man, that is a long. I thought it had been a long time for me since last time I had been to a Disney park. And for me, the last time I was at Disney park was 2003. So, yeah. I mean, when all things are considered, you think of 1995 versus 2003. Well, you know, it's, I'm only about, what is that? Carry the one. What is that, like 8 years later? So, yeah. I think we're overdue for a little Disneyland adventure action. However, they have a ride called Soarin' Over California. Sure. It's really cool. I don't know if it still exists, so you may be out of luck, unfortunately. But they have this, it is kind of like one of those simulation type rides where you get in the seat, but then they actually like take you off the ground. Like you're in these chairs and they lift you like I don't even know how high up off the ground. And the entire dome thing is like a screen, and you are literally soaring over California, like different parts of California. Back to the game, though.
Let me ask you real quick about the game. So when you're flying, forgive me, I mean, this might be a dumb question, but I mean, is it pretty quick? Like, you know, you take off and you fly, and then all of a sudden, like 2 minutes, you're in San Francisco. Or do you like take off from San Francisco so you're like already there? And then, because I've heard like somebody was flying to Asia, like, I don't know, Japan or something, and they're like, yeah, so this flight's going to be 13 hours, so I'm just going to speed this up. And like, I mean, that's kind of cool and kind of not cool at the same time.
So the game has a lot of different options, which I appreciate. I really like that. So you can be instantly already in the air, which I believe they call it like discovery flights or something like that. But they have like certain cities or landmarks throughout the world that you can choose. And so like, for instance, like San Francisco is one of them. And that's what I did because I didn't know really how involved the takeoff process was going to be. And so I did that, and it was great because then I got to fly. I mean, I flew over like where the tunnel is that takes you into Marin County.
Sure.
And it was crazy to see it from the top view because that's the tunnel that we always hold our breaths when we go through. And then I see Sausalito and I see Marin, and then going further northward, I saw Novato. I didn't make it too much past that because then my wife came in and she's like, show me Mount Tam where you proposed. I'm like, okay. So then the whole flight's like,
where were you flying? A 747 or what are you?
No, it was just one of those single prop engine type of planes.
Nice.
And I don't even know if there is an option in the Discovery mode, like Discovery Flight or whatever. I think they just kind of plop you in or whatever kind of thing you're going. But again, that is just one mode. Like it's honestly, the UI is a little similar to Forza, where you have all those different cards laid out in a UI and you can choose like, oh, I want to take off from the ground, which I did. The second time I played it, I was actually taking off from Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. And so I'm on the tarmac and I'm trying to figure out like how to get the plane to like take off. And again, like if you want it to be super realistic, you can have all of the stuff go to manual and there's no assistance whatsoever, or you can have some assistance. And that's what I did because I have no idea how to fly. So it was really cool to be able to take off from the tarmac. And then I flew over our neighborhood, Steve, before landing at a local airport, and I didn't know how to brake, and so I proceeded to go beyond the tarmac and continued flying. Well, not flying, but I was literally driving it like a car before I realized, I was pressing the accelerator button, not the brake button.
Oops. Can you fly Virgin, Russ?
Fly Virgin.
Is there a Virgin Airways available to you?
I wish there was, Steve.
That sucks.
I wish there was. It's the topic of the day with Hi-Ho Silver. Away! The What If Disney Plus show impressions. The first episode dropped yesterday as of this recording, and we are very much looking forward to being able to go into spoiler territory immediately and give our thoughts on the film. Before we do though, Steve,
spoiler
I
alert.
love me some, no, I already gave the spoiler.
Spoiler warning.
I just, when I think about hi-hoing my silver, it's great. You gotta have that slap. You gotta have that like, along with a horse neigh.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice, Steve. Very nice.
I practiced that, Russ.
Did you? I figured no practice was necessary. Steve, what did you think of episode 1 of What If?
I enjoyed. Well, let me get this out of the way first, Russ.
Okay, Steve.
My one criticism of the show is that it's going way too blisteringly fast. I'm like pumping the brakes through the whole thing, going, slow down. Let's take it easy. Let's see a little bit more. Let's not go so fast. I mean, I think they might have been like, okay, we just want to show you what happens if Captain Carter was Captain America and not Steve Rogers, which I get it. They don't want to rehash the entire movie and have it be an hour and a half, whatever.
Well, and it could be that the show itself is episodic, where like perhaps episode 2 does not begin where episode 1 leaves off. Maybe like they go somewhere completely different. Like, remember that old show Tales from the Crypt? Where,
Yes.
I mean, obviously, like that's more of like a horror type of genre than what this is.
Not even the same thing. Yeah.
Not even the same thing. But in terms of it being episodic, like if you recall, like they had like it was story after story after story that didn't tie into each other. It was just these standalone episodes, and I have a feeling that's probably what they're doing.
Well, but I think they're going to progress into like other of the Avengers movies because you're going to see other heroes that jump in there.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to be like necessarily all like Captain America, Captain Carter sort of thing. I think this ended up being what Captain America was as a movie, but with Agent Carter in there, Captain Carter.
Sure.
So, that being said, though, I mean, I wanted them to slow it down. I was enjoying it. I thought it was written very well. I thought animation was beautiful. I was really enjoying myself watching it. I was wanting them to pump the brakes. I thought it was going way too fast. And then when it was up, I'm like, okay, fine. I mean, I liked it, but I want to see more of this one show before we continue. But that was my only criticism. I always liked Agent Carter in the first Captain America. And, I mean, after we see that, we barely ever see her again. And I wanted to see her more in a movie. I was hoping she would pop back up in the multiverse. So, I like it. I did.
Cool. Yeah, let's talk about the art animation. The art animation I was really impressed with. I wasn't sure what to expect necessarily. I knew it was going to be animated. I really didn't see anything leading up to. I mean, I think I saw maybe like a little clip on Instagram or something a couple days before it dropped, but I really love the style. It's got that, it's 3D, but they got that like 2D shader on top of it. Really love how all the characters and scenes flow as they're moving and whatnot. And I look forward to seeing more of those episodes. I'm always such a big fan of whenever there's some sort of like unique direction when it comes to the performances of the characters in an animated fashion, as well as the visuals. The visuals, and I mean, the whole show is like, man, this is cool looking.
Yeah. And then they had the all-star cast too. Like everybody, well, I mean, yeah, the person who voiced Steve Rogers wasn't Chris Evans, but
you had a lot of other people who reprised the roles.
Yeah, Stanley Tucci was in there too, and I was actually looking forward to him. You know, I didn't know what was going to happen, but I thought, okay, if his character doesn't die, that would be cool if he was in it longer. I just love Stanley Tucci. I don't know. He's fantastic.
I love Stanley Tucci as well. You gotta love the Tucci.
Yeah, but you know what I was wondering is if they had all the actors do like re-say their voice lines, or did they just use stuff from the movie and then put it in animation form?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure.
Because I looked it up on IMDb and Chadwick Boseman is in it. And I mean, like, he can't voice his lines.
Yeah, clearly then they're pulling from previously recorded material.
Or that might have been just from him too. I mean, so maybe everybody else did some lines as well.
The other thing too to keep in mind is that the voice lines were probably done before the animation started. Like, the animation takes a while. Like, it's not just like, oh, I'm going to press a couple of buttons on the keyboard and it's done. Like, it takes a while. So I have a feeling those VOs were recorded several years ago before they started this whole thing. Having said that, I don't know if Chadwick was still alive then or not.
Right.
But no, I have a number of different things I wanted to cover with you with regards to this first episode, because they bring up quite a few different things. I'm gonna look at my show notes real quick. The first thing I have on here is I want to talk about the concept of mixing up the characters and have them take on basically like each other's roles, right? So this was something that is no surprise. This is what, or I should say how, this particular show was advertised. The whole notion of what if certain characters were suddenly these other characters that we as an audience have been conditioned to come to just associate these different actors with these roles, or these different characters as these different roles. So my question to you is what did you think? Well, I guess we could start off with Agent Carter. You know, in the original MCU canon, Agent Carter is an agent from Britain who is, you know, basically Steve Rogers' main love interest. She's there when he goes into the machine and takes the serum and then becomes a super soldier. And now we see her actually go through due to like a series of events that transpired a bit differently. And now she has taken on the mantle of Captain Carter. leaving Steve Rogers as more of like the little shrimpy kid. What did you think of that particular sandbox idea?
Role reversal kind of thing?
Well, it's not exactly role reversal, but I view it as like it's a creative sandbox, and I think that's what is really cool about the name of the show, because we've all done that before. Even when we were younger and we were collecting comics, we would be sitting around like, oh man, what if like so and so was this and this thing happened that caused the space-time continuum to get all screwed up and yada yada. I mean, that was one of the big things about even Back to the Future 2 was seeing the alternate 1985. Who didn't think that was like super fascinating? So what did you think of Captain Carter?
This might sound a little bit odd, but I mean, she really fit what I guess I would like a strong female lead to be. Mm-hmm. You know, like Wonder Woman, for example, in the first Wonder Woman, where she's strong, she's doing the right thing, but she's still a woman, mm-hmm. you know, and she still sees the good in people. Like she saw the good in Steve Rogers. And I like that, and that they scripted her that way, because we all want to see her kick butt. You know, we want to see her throw the shield around. We want to see her save the day. We want to see her, you know, beat up some Nazis. I mean, of course, that's what we're signing up for.
Yeah.
But we also don't want her to abandon the character that we saw from Captain America either. Mm-hmm. And so they tied it very well into this new, you know, Captain America, this new female Captain America. And so I was completely down for it. And I kind of liked seeing Steve Rogers as the shrimpy kid, but still have the big heart that
have the warrior spirit,
the warrior spirit, and try to do what he could to participate in the war, to, you know, fight for his country and do his part, I guess, you know, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. So I was completely down with it. I will say though, if I transition from Agent Carter just for a second, I was a little bit. It was a kind of a toss up when Stark made like a primitive Iron Man suit for him, or a primitive war machine. I was like,
the Hydra Stamper or Stomper?
The Hydra Stomper. Yeah, exactly. I thought, okay, I can kind of see it, but maybe a little bit too soon, possibly, you know?
What do you mean too soon?
Because, I mean, that kind of takes a little bit of the steam from Iron Man away, even though it's still Stark.
Well, okay. So my takeaway from that was that the suit was not an Iron Man suit. That suit reminded me more of Ironmonger, which was the bad suit. If you recall, in the first Iron Man movie, when Tony Stark is fighting his boss, he is essentially able to Frankenstein up a different version based off some of the leftover blueprints and stuff that Tony made while he was in the cave, and it became almost like this Ironmonger thing. I don't know that with 100% certainty. It could very well be maybe it was the initial Iron Man suit that Tony Stark made in the caves. I need to do like a side-by-side comparison of the silhouettes of both of those machines, because I don't know. I could waffle back or forth on that for sure. But you say you didn't care for him actually going into that type of role?
It's, you know, it's a double-edged sword, because yes, I thought it was cool because we saw Steve Rogers participate in a way he knew how. I mean, he's not going to be able to hold a rifle for very long because he's not strong. He's weak. And so that means he's either going to have to like sit behind a desk and do something, or he's going to have to pilot something, right? Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, it kind of makes sense that this would be the thing for him, but it just reminded me of Iron Man, which he's not Iron Man. You know?
Well, and I think that this is going to be a reoccurring thing, because I know what you're saying. And I have, to a certain degree, that type of response as well, where I'm looking at a particular character. And again, I'm so conditioned, like if I see like any kind of like Iron Man looking suit, I just automatically think that's Tony Stark. And I think that's what's fun about the show, is that it literally just places that whole notion on its ear. And suddenly I'm like, that's the what? But I think it's a healthy exercise in a way, because by the end of the episode, I don't know how you felt about seeing Steve Rogers in that suit. But by the end of the episode, I was starting to become more comfortable seeing him in that type of scenario. In fact, as an aside, one of my favorite shots from the show was when Captain Carter jumps onto the back of the suit as he takes off from like the
cool.
hangar.
Yeah.
That was
awesome.
a really cool visual. I dig that a lot. When it comes to Captain Carter's suit, I thought the suit looked awesome.
Yeah, it looked perfect on her. And you know what? I'm not sure it would have been as good either if this was like a full-fledged, film,
Right.
like not CG. I think this had to be CG in a way
I agree.
because of the way that they wanted to tell the story, and I think it's perfect the way they did it.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just my 2 cents.
Well, and I agree. I think that it's a very unique approach to be able to have, again, with the MCU, we have yet to see this type of approach with regards to high production value animations. And there have been like certain cartoons and that sort of thing that have existed in the past. I mean, like we've all seen like the Spider-Man show from the 90s or like the X-Men show. But they have certain things like that, but that's not like under the supervision and helm of Kevin Feige with the MCU support. I mean, one of the things that I did not have time for that I wish I did was I wanted to find out who actually created the animations. Because I have no idea if they did that in-house, like if they literally hired a bunch of artists and animators within Marvel Entertainment and said, okay, we have this really cool series, we want you to focus on this, or if they outsourced it to some sort of amazing vendor. I think the next time we talk about it, I should have that information. But now going over to Peggy and Steve's romance.
Yes.
Okay. So this is one of the things that I have. There's like a little fly in the ointment for me for this. I want to know if you feel the same way.
Okay.
When I think of the original Captain America, the First Avenger live action movie, you see Steve Rogers meet Peggy Carter and, they're being friendly and cordial and diplomatic and stuff like that. But it's not until Steve Rogers re-emerges from the contraption,
Being voluptuous,
looking insanely swole,
ripped,
that I think that's when the attraction for Agent Carter came into play. Because if you even recall, she's like looking at him, she's marveling at his physique, and she literally tries to she's about to caress his pectoral boob, and she holds back. She's like, oh, what am I doing? It's that kind of thing. But before that happened, I mean, arguably, I would say that the relationship was purely platonic. There wasn't any kind of romantic interest necessarily. I could totally be wrong. I will need to rewatch that movie and see if there was any indications. But really, I think it was more platonic because she saw him for who he was, which, I mean, he was like this little shrimpy guy. He had, I don't know if he necessarily had physical ailments, but he was a fragile dude. She respected his warrior spirit, but it was interesting how they continued to play up the romantic side of things in this cartoon. What'd you think?
Yeah, they did. I'm trying to remember back to the first Captain America, and I think I remember seeing it more with him than her. With her, she did show him.
It was restrained.
Yeah, it was. Yes,
it was there, but it was restrained. Like the proper British one. Don't want to be too far out there. Continue, Steve.
I didn't even understand what that was. I'm like the proper British word is. I'm waiting for it.
When you can't think of a word, just mumble your way through it.
Yes, of course. With the sections are looking for a couple of words. Oh, that's brilliant. Say it again. So, yeah, restrained, I would say, would be definitely on her part because she was showing him a lot more attention than any other dude. I mean, Sebastian's, Bucky.
Yeah.
Sebastian Bucky. Bucky was, thinking that she was some pretty hot stuff, and she wasn't even paying attention to him whatsoever. I mean, she paid more attention to Steve than Bucky, but she wasn't necessarily romantic to him. She was winking at him and whatnot and holding his hand. I remember him asking her about going out and dancing. He was kind of charming her a bit.
Sure.
But yeah, it wasn't until he was Mr. Big Buff and Rough and stuff that she was kind of coming on to him a little bit stronger. But I think it was interesting to have her show more of that affection
absolutely
to him.
It makes for good storytelling. It's an endearing quality that she has to be able to look upon him and realize that there is so much more than just the physicality of things, like basically who he is as a man, what his convictions are, to want to serve, to do his civic duty. Those types of things are very noble, and with her background, I think that is something that she did find attractive.
And it's refreshing to see that too, because so often in movies, it's like the Insta-worthy model female goes for the Insta-worthy male model. And then it's like, oh yeah, it's like this power couple always hooking up in Hollywood, but you never really see these other attractive qualities or someone being attracted to that. So to me, it was definitely refreshing. I didn't mind it whatsoever. Cool. And I like that old school romance, just that subtleness, the whining and dining, they don't have to be all over each other. But the attraction's there's chemistry. I dig that.
So another thing that I wanted to touch upon that was more of another critique really was in the fight scenes themselves. So when you see Peggy doing her thing as Captain Carter, first of all, the animations are fantastic. I really did enjoy seeing that from a technical and artistic standpoint. However, I got to thinking about it, and I feel as though she was a bit OP'd.
Yeah.
I mean, she was like stopping a 1940s military convoy truck and flipping it over herself Hulk style.
Right.
When, like, if memory serves, like, I mean, I'm going through kind of my mental mind of all the different battles that Steve Rogers has been in as Captain America. I think the closest thing that I can think of is like maybe in Avengers Age of Ultron, I think maybe he tossed a motorcycle at an oncoming military convoy truck, like troop carrying truck or something like that. But I don't think he did anything remotely close to that.
Right.
Like maybe you can think of him during the scene. I think it's in it's either in Winter Soldier or it's in Civil War. I can't remember which one it is, but he's holding on to that helicopter for a minute. Like, remember how the helicopter's trying to take off? He's holding on to the landing pad, and it's like that perfect opportunity to like show off the biceps. He's like, but he couldn't hold on to that either. It was not like he could.
My
like,
picture.
Yeah. So, and then I started thinking more. It's so funny. I went down like this analytical rabbit hole, but one of the things that also came to mind as I was thinking about that is I thought about the Black Widow movie and how one of the criticisms I had of that film was that scene that I'm not going to talk about because it's still in theaters, but there is a particular, actually it's not even a particular scene, but like throughout the film, we never see Black Widow get bruised or blemished or otherwise, visibly injured in any way, shape, or form. And the same thing happened with Captain Carter, where like every type of physical engagement that she had, it was just her taking care of business. There wasn't really any kind of sense of threat. But if I compare that to, once again, Captain America and all the different Marvel movies he's been in, like he'd be able to handle his own against various soldiers and stuff, but there was still a struggle. There were still certain punches that landed on his face or on his body or whatever. And especially when he was fighting someone who was perhaps closer to being a physical equal to him. Yeah. Like, I mean, they were trading blows straight up. And there were instances where you would see like blood on his face or
bruised and bloody. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was curious to get your opinion on that. If you noticed that, if that took anything away for you in terms of the dread or the sense of threat, that sort of thing. I mean, granted, it is an animation. It is a cartoon.
Right.
And if I'm being perfectly fair, the only thing that comes to mind from the cartoon was when the tentacles were coming out from the dimensional portal, they did slam her up against the wall one time and they slammed her against the ground. And that's about all I can think of.
True. I mean, I was thinking a little bit of that too. It didn't necessarily take away that much from me, and I think it was because it was an animation. I mean, people were getting shot too, multiple times. That that minister gets shot just like he does in the Avengers, and I mean they're not showing blood there either, and people are dying.
Yeah.
So. With that, I mean, it would do one thing if people were getting shot and they were showing, blood and guts and they're dying, and then they showed her with no blemish whatsoever. But I mean, they didn't do it for anybody. So,
and honestly, hearing you talk about it, they may have intentionally decided to veer away from that just because kids might be interested in checking out the show. I mean, I didn't even check to see what the rating is on it. But.
Yeah. So, I mean, but I will agree with you. I mean, she definitely was OP, but it was great imagination. I mean, I had fun with it.
Oh, for sure.
So, I mean, I think later on, if, she meets up with the Hulk, which may or may not happen, who knows yet? It's only been episode 1. But, it'd be interesting to see how parallel, she'll be with the Hulk. If she's pretty close, I'm going to be like, yeah, that's going to lose a point for me. But otherwise, for this episode, I mean, for me, it worked. I thought it was fun.
No, it definitely was a lot of fun. I think the reason why I get a little hung up on that is I'm starting to see a pattern where if you have a female protagonist who very much likes to get rough and tumble and go to fisticuffs, they do so with basically invincibility. I mean, we saw the same thing in Star Wars with Rey, where like the actress is amazing, the character archetype is amazing, but in terms of the execution, it was like there wasn't any challenge or tribulation. She had no vices. She had nothing that she had to work towards and learn and earn her way to do. It was just like, oh, this is what we do. Okay, no, not a problem. And I think that takes away for me personally the sense of payoff. Where like. I, as an audience member, want to feel as though I have gone through this knockdown, dragged out fight with this character. Doesn't matter if it's male or female, but it takes it away. It's literally like, if I can think of it like in video game terms, it's like if I'm playing as Super Mario or Princess Peach and I've constantly got invincibility on as I'm running through the level, well, then it kind of loses a bit of like, I don't know, accomplishment, I guess you could say, or just like there's no sense of danger.
Yeah.
But again, that is more of a smaller thing and an otherwise very entertaining show. Steve, could you please give us your concluding thoughts thus far? Obviously, there are many more episodes to come, but in terms of your impressions of the film, would you recommend, or film, I said film, would you recommend the show to folks who have not seen it?
I would definitely recommend it. I would even go so far to say, Russ, that so far, this is my favorite part of Marvel Phase 4. That's
Really?
what I'm going to go out there and say, Russ.
Wow.
I'm going to go out on that time branch and just kind of say that. I will include in my concluding thoughts. One thing I could not understand is that Captain Carter brought back the Tesseract, or at least that's what it seemed like. She brought it back, the Tesseract, and put it on the general's or the colonel's desk.
I remember that.
And he goes like, oh, was that thing radioactive? I'm like, oh, wow, she already got it. Okay, cool. And then you go fast forward to Red Skull, and he's like, okay, we're going to power this up. And it seemed like it was the same Tesseract, and it
did seem like there were almost like 2 Tesseracts, didn't it?
Yeah, I'm like, did I miss something? And then I rewound it and kind of watched both scenes again, and I still don't understand what happened.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure.
Respond in the comments below if you know what happened. Fill me in.
Yeah, definitely. If you can kind of clear the air on that one, we would definitely appreciate comments. And that's the thing. We love comments. We want comments.
Anyhow, concluding thoughts. Very well done so far with Disney. Very hard to find fault, in my opinion. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I will just say, for future episodes, I really hope they pump the brakes because it was moving way too fast. It was almost like breakneck speed fast, and I really wanted to enjoy more of it. I didn't want it to be over that quickly, which is kind of a compliment in a way, if you think of it that way. But no, I'm glad Agent Carter is back on the screen. I just I can't tell you enough how much I loved her in the first Captain America. I really wanted her to come back, and she's back.
Yeah,
so.
she's very popular. She's loved by all kinds of fans.
Yeah, so I'm stoked.
I personally could not really say it much better than what you've already said. I think that the show itself is refreshing. I personally really love this platform of Disney Plus in terms of what they have shown us so far. They've really been able to take opportunities to be able to explore certain things that, quite frankly, have been conversations that fans have had after they've seen a number of the MCU films and wanting to fill in certain types of side story gaps and that sort of thing. But I really have been enjoying what they've been doing so far with like WandaVision, with Loki, with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Now we have What If, and there will be Hawkeye that's coming out later this year. So it's definitely really, really cool because, again, it is a sandbox. I think Disney Plus itself acts as a bit of a conduit to that sandbox. And then when looking at these various shows, it's I don't know, to me, it's fodder for the brain. It's like food for thought. I think it's really fun to be able to examine these beloved characters in different ways and capacities and mediums. And I for one am very much looking forward to seeing what comes next. You know, like, and honestly, I kind of hope that this is more of that episodic type of thing where like the next episode, maybe we don't see Captain Carter at all or Steve Rogers. Maybe like they focus on Doctor Strange and Black Panther or who knows what. I mean, they have a huge roster of characters to play with.
Yeah.
That wraps up this episode of Joygasm. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you enjoyed this episode, we invite you to check out patreon.com/Joygasm, where you can enjoy exclusive perks and early access to the show. Not to mention, it continues helping us monetarily do what we love to do. Also, make sure you caress that subscribe button, maybe clang that notification bell. That way you will not miss a single episode of Joygasm that drops once a week, every week. And while you're at it, do a search for Joygasm TV on your favorite social media platform of choice. Last but not least, do a search for Joygasm TV on Twitch to see us stream our video game adventures live every Wednesday night, 9:30 p.m. Central Time. We will look forward to seeing all of you again next week. See ya.